Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As I, James L. Seagraves, coming to you from my basement at 6:38 a.m. We're into the playoffs. We're 2 weeks into the playoffs now. Means we have made our way through the Sweet 16, and the winners from this week have been moved into the Elite 8. So we are really getting close to pay dirt, people. We'll go over that here right now. These podcasts are not going to be very long because there's not 96 teams to talk about. So anyway, we look at the first thing we're going to do is look at the MUSL results, and we have a couple different ways of doing this here. We have, first of all, James St. Germain came into this league, beat the Apache Chiefs, a perennial playoff team. Good job. Makes it into former champion Louis Diana, former manager of the Verizon store. He might even recognize this guy. These two do know each other. They might not realize it, but they do. And unfortunately, that's a chunky. There was a chance Chris Godwin, at the end of that game, could have won a few people these games. But luckily, for my wife anyway, he did not score a touchdown at the end. He just got 2 passes on that final drive, not to get a touchdown. But that's a chunky, led by, let's see if we can go to what his lineup was this week, week 13. Led by Devontae Adams with 24.25 points, or 85 points. Also had CeeDee Lamb, Young Ho Koo, it's early, and Derek Carr all had good numbers there. And then we go to Patriots lineup. I didn't look at any of these lineups. I'm seeing these for the first time. Kenneth Walker disappointed. I mean, what could have been if he had a big game? Godwin didn't do all that great. Foster Moreau, I mean, who'd expect him to do well? Mike Badgley put up some points, though. And then the Seahawks defense. So, good season for James St. Germain his first year. I'm sure he will be back. I think he generally enjoyed this league, so hopefully back. Now, don't forget, I've said this 1,000 times this year. I'm going to say it again. Your season is not over completely because once the NFL playoffs begin, there's a whole new league that we do specifically for those playoffs. And I'll say that again throughout this podcast. Then we go to Mama G out of retirement. She came out of retirement. She made the playoffs, so the number 9 seed. Her reward was going to be to play the worst or the lowest seed of the teams with byes, and Bleeding Blue Bombers is that team, Pat Provost Sr., who, 80.88 points for Melissa Garrity is a very reputable score. She was 8-3 throughout the year. Great season for her. She had one of the highest point totals. But unfortunately, Bleeding Blue Bombers, their lineup this week consisted of, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I thought that was the same person. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge game, as did Tony Pollard. Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen was hurt half the year, so most people had him to use. And that's what Pat Provost did. And Justin Herbert had an okay game, I guess. Going down to the next game, this was a nail-biter, folks. Malcolm Rodriguez in the middle of my thighs versus Ketchup and Mostert. Malcolm Rodriguez, this is my wife's team, who was number 1 team in the nation, lost 5 straight games, and then narrowly, they won enough games to get in based on points. They had enough points in there to get in, barely. So she kind of collapsed at the end of the year. She started at 5-0, ended up 6-5, but had a lot of points to carry her in. And this week, she does not have a lot left in the tank, but she had enough to get by old Alex Erickson here. And this is I convinced her to start Deshaun Watson. If she would have lost, we probably would have been divorced. But I also told her to start the Browns defense, which she was hesitant to because it is the Browns, but they were playing the Texans. So thankfully, this is not a great score, but thankfully the Browns defense put up enough points, 3 touchdowns, to get her enough points for the win. She doesn't have a lot left in the tank, I'll warn you. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Swag, the perennial playoff team by Bonnie Monahan, is in the Elite 8 yet again as they manhandled, well, not really, they won by 13 points. Bobby Wood, 70 points is still a good showing, as Malcolm Rodriguez in the middle of my thighs neither of those teams scored 70 points. CD's Nuts would have beat a lot of teams this week. Unfortunately, they would not have beaten Swag. Swag comes in with Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Browns defense, which basically scored all of their points. So congratulations to Bonnie on making it to the Elite Eight. Bobby Wood, I think this is your first year being here. I think you've enjoyed this league. Hopefully we'll see you back. I have no doubt we will. And then show me them TDs. They knocked off Password is Taco last week with 100 points. This week they kind of fell back to reality, folks. Snap. Ooh, there goes Rabbit. Chop it off. It'll make you stunning and brave. He's been one of the best teams all year. Pat Provost, the regular, non-senior edition, put up 85.02 points. Their big scores of the week were Devontae Adams and, of course, those Browns. Defense helped a lot of people out. I mean, and then this one here, you can't, well, you can see now, I guess. Whoops, I'm too far down the line here. Pay Calvin his money. This one hurts a little bit. A lot of Velada had 4 straight bye weeks, so he didn't have to spin a lineup in for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. And maybe, 70 points is a reputable showing. Pay Calvin his money, though. Just barely squeaked by him. So a lot of Velada, after having the best year, he could have probably went undefeated, but he just coasted the last 3 weeks. None of these crazy starters here. Christian Watson had a big game. That's kind of lucky. He had one 46-yard touchdown run. That's what did it. That was the difference, man. This just shows you how close these games can be, man. He didn't have a great lineup in, but it was enough to win. Fly, Eagles, fly. Mick DeBow, after beating Christian's Weapons of Mass Destruction by 2 points, gets hit for 21 points here as Paul Wallen whines. Just here so I don't get fined. Moves into the Elite Eight. Had a good lineup here. A lot of double pointers here, double digiters. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Swift. A good game by him. And then a Christian Watson. Christian Watson will not have another game like that, I promise you. Well, I don't promise, but I don't think he will. And then finally, after taking so much heat during the preseason podcast and all the other podcasts, Garrity's Gigolos have put up back-to-back 90-point performances this week, 90.57 points. And he had Greg Zuerlein with 20.5 points. Holy crap. And Joe Burrow was still left in the tank for him, so that's impressive. Tony Pollard with 18 points, but Zuerlein with 20.5 points. You got beat by a kicker, DeWyans. Gary King, the lovable Gary King, gets knocked off and sent packing. We'll see him in the playoff challenge, I'm sure. Down to the suck bracket. We're not going to go into the scores on this one or the roster on this one. The Black Hole sends BVC home. Stafford's Bastards. Just Andy Phelps put up 39 points. That was a pretty horrible score, but whatever. Young Bubba's Players falls. 2 out of 3 Garrity's lose this week to the Dublin Drunks, who had a pretty bad regular season, but he's in it to win it here. Hitting Rugs played Devastation Incorporated. Mike Davis gave up on the Verizon job, gave up on his team in the suck bracket. It is what it is. Then we have the Hitman, formerly Tips and Tricks, couldn't figure out how to get his lineup in, even though he got it in the first week. Something went wrong with his account. He did not submit a lineup, thus True Blue Wrecking Crew moves on by default. Golf and Balls beat up Brady's Balls in the ball battle here. Christopher Russell moves on. The baby of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman took on his own team of Watson, Spa, and Masseuse, and he submitted 2 lineups, so that must have been fun for him. Tom Farmer moves on. Nasty Nutria has a nasty 36.68 score as Eric Mintern's Chark Attack. Eric Mintern has 2 teams left alive. Most Known Unknown drops 100 points against Jeremy Orr, who didn't even submit a lineup, which is shameful because he's a great owner. Moves on. Concussion Protocol. OJ, El Dorado there, puts up 95 points and moves on. And then this is hilarious. Brady O'Bush and Now You See Me, Now You Don't. These are 2 awesome owners, just don't care about the suck bracket. I guess it's win or go home for them all the way. Neither of them submitted a lineup, which means that NADTAB Knights, you will have to submit a lineup. You will have to submit a lineup in order to get the win. Otherwise, if you don't submit a lineup, it'll be a bot. You'll lose automatically. So you could put in, I don't know, Brocktober, I guess, and just, as a quarterback. He might be good. Who knows? We'll see. I hope so. I'll Take Your Money takes New Orleans Rock. Chuck's Monkey. They didn't put any lineup in. It's kind of sad, but whatever. These are good owners, people. Good owners. These are not people who don't care about their team. They just don't care about the suck bracket, apparently, which is dumb because you can win free entry into next year. Whatever. Paul Ward moves on, beats me. My season's over. It's been terrible, but you know it is what it is. I mean, I was 6-5 in the regular season. It's not terrible, just wasn't good enough. Coming from behind, this is Greg Munger, took over Tyler Lockett's team. He puts up 94 points. He was sweating there for a little bit because I think he had DeAndre Swift in. Alshon Jeffrey didn't kill himself, eliminates the other Seagraves here, so 2 out of the 3 Seagraves fall. Because my son gets beaten, as he does every night. Not really. Well, maybe. Nah, just kidding. Alshon Jeffrey didn't kill himself, moves on. There's a lot of teams in the suck bracket, man. It's crazy. Honolulu Blues. Cody Provost, he's not living up to that Provost name. Didn't even submit a lineup, which is terrible. Suck it. Bracy Trudell drops 101 points on a ghost. Aching for a ship. A ghost ship, perhaps? It is possible, because that's what was submitted here. Squadrels. Square Deal has triple bypass and I mean, the man is not doing well, but he's good enough to do a lineup, unlike a lot of these clowns. My Balzac hurts. Don Knapp, 6-5, puts up 88 points against Tony Cromwell, who did not submit a lineup. And these people, I'm going to see these people in a couple days. I'm going to give them some shit. Scott Muckovitz beats FarmersOnly.com. That's a former champion, something to be proud of. Joe Buck Yourself, that is Jordan Craig, beats Cody Cole, who did not submit a lineup, which is shameful. Team Zemer drops 93 points on young Cromwell, who, I mean, it's a Cromwell tradition not to submit a lineup this week, apparently. Maybe they're out of town. Maybe they just don't care about the suck bracket. Rocky Keeling moves on. Your Mother Likes My Defense. Alan Harvey, former champion, knocks out Rob Gork. He won the squares a couple weeks ago. Lakers moves on. Is Cody Cole's wife, Amber, puts up 64 points against nobody. Oh, my God, there's so many of these. Conservatism is the new counterculture. Pat Provost 2.0. He is alive as he beats his political partner there, Patrick McNamara. 47.83 points. Have a good one. Rob Jazerski beats Do You Even Swift Bro. Moves on. Better Bring Your A Game puts up 93 points. Tenacious D. Josh Crampton is still alive, folks. Josh Crampton is still alive. 78 points. Junior Chiefs put up 102. Then they don't put up a lineup this week. Jamie Phelps, the Nuts, moves on to pace on Tenacious D as Josh Greiner's season comes to an end. Cloacal Kiss, defending champion Maddie Bradley, who wasted a great lineup last week when she had a bye. So, sorry. That's why you got to watch these podcasts, man. They tell it to break down everything. Cloacal Kiss moves on to take on Whispering Eyes, Jason Taylor. So there's your field of 16, I believe, what we have left on here. This might even be more than 16. Let's see. Oh, this is definitely more than 16. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. Okay, round of 32. Now we are in. So there's still a few weeks to go to win the suck bracket, but it's a marathon, folks. So we look at this week's games now. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty short podcast, although where am I at right now? 13 minutes. Hasn't been that short because there's so many damn suck games to go over. All right, so that's a chunky. Number 1 overall seed, or no, sorry, number 2 overall seed, I believe. No, this was number 1 overall seed. Taking on Bleeding Blue Bombers. 9-2, 8-3. These are both teams won conferences. Huge game, huge. 2 teams that did not win conferences here. Both upset their conference champions here in the last week. Oh, man, this means a lot to me because I will tell you that Po-Swag, which is Bonnie Monahan's team, not once but twice, 2 times in the history of MUSL, has defeated me in the MUSL playoff, including once in the Elite Eight, which is exactly where they are now. Can my wife finally break the streak? Based on who she has left, I'm going to say probably not, but you never know. Then we have the ultimate battle of liberalism versus conservatism as Eric Minturn takes on Chop It Off. It'll make you stunning and brave. Twilight Zone for reality folks here. This is it. This is bigger than Trump Biden for sure. This will be a good game. Can Pat Provost keep it up? I mean, he's had a great year so far. I think he was 8-3 And he's just good. He's just good at this. He's always in the playoffs. Eric Minturn, not so much, but he's got 2 teams left in the playoffs this year. Then we have just here so I don't get fined, Paul Wallenwine taking on Steve Garrity with a chance to make it to the Final Four. This will be huge for the Garrity family. They came back. They had 2 people in the second round. 2 owners in the second round from their family. But Paul Wallenwine, the guy had a great regular season, so we'll see how that one goes. Suck bracket, there's too many teams to talk about. Everyone who's playing should submit a lineup. But we'll look at them, why not? The Black Hole taking on Bob Ames. That's Rob Bradley versus Bob Ames. Jeff Arbogast versus Mason Bradley. So the Bradleys are still alive here. They could play each other next week. Father versus son if they both win, so that's something to look forward to. Then we got Roger Brewer taking on Christopher Russell in the his True Blue Raccoon taking on Golf and Balls. Then we have Eric Minturn versus Tom Farmer in Shark Attack versus the baby of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Then we have Most Known Justin Redding and Concussion Protocol OJ El Dorado taking on each other. We have Nantam Knights, Michael Myers. You just have to submit a basic lineup and win. All you really need is a defense in there probably. I'll Take Your Money taking on Paul Ward as Kevin Wilson. Submitting lineups now. He did submit lineups at the end of the year when he could have and should have because he wasn't that far out of the running. Oh, yeah, he was. He was 2-9. Never mind. But part of those losses came because he didn't submit lineup. And then we have Greg Munger, new owner who took over a team. I forgot what it was. Tips and Tricks, I think. Taking on Alshon Jeffrey. Didn't kill himself. That's a big game right there. Honolulu Blues. Paul Brown taking on Bracy Trudell. Squadrels taking on Don Knapp. Scott Muckovitz taking on Jordan Craig. And Team Zemer taking on Rocky Keeling. We're almost done here, folks. We got Alan Harvey versus Amber Cole. We got Pat Provost taking on Rob Jazerski. That'll be a good game. Jamie Phelps taking on Josh Crampton. And then finally, Maddie Bradley taking on Jason Taylor in the suck bracket. So, that's the round of 32 for that thing. They are basically 2 weeks behind us. 2 weeks behind the MUSL bracket. Excuse me, man. And then finally, the super squares. Now, this is what's weird about these squares, okay? Part of the luxury of having this is you never know what's going to happen, right? This week's category was fewest passing yards. Fewest passing yards as a team. Now, of course, like Ryan Tannehill, I've never been a fan of. I think he's a scrub. I think they have lost golden opportunities to win Super Bowls. Not just make it Super Bowls. Win Super Bowls with the team they've had. Okay? No doubt about it. Their team has been phenomenal, but they've had a terrible quarterback that they paid a bunch of money to. Most ignorant goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life. And they're going to pay because they're done. Their window is done. And this shows you 122 passing yards for them was a joke against the Eagles team that I am not even sold on still. I don't care. They can be 16-1, and I still am not going to be sold on them. They're going to get stomped when they play a real team with a real quarterback, by the way. Anyway, 122 yards is shameful, but who would have thought that the Rams would have been the lowest scoring or lowest producing team in the NFC? The Rams! They were supposed to win the Super Bowl again, people. They're supposed to be bad next year. It's why they got rid of that first-round pick, because they were in it to win it 2 years in a row. They signed all these players with a ridiculous contract, and they are terrible. And now Stafford's out. Now, don't get me wrong. What's his name's coming? Baker Mayfield, but he's not that good. He's better than Joe Fleming or whoever the fuck they had as the quarterback. But the point is, the Rams, this square, Rams-Titans, was supposed to be a good square for high-scoring production, not for low-scoring production. But nevertheless, Louis Diana gets the square, and he wins for the third time this year. So he's been lucky. Now, here's the thing. People are concerned, well, you got to redraw these squares every week. It's like, that's a bunch of liberal nonsense. We do not need to, because here's why. Louis Diana won fewest passing yards. True, he did win that, but he won with different teams. New England/New York Giants. Okay? He won for lowest score, which, again, is New York, Jets, and Minnesota. And then he just won. He won 2 out of 3 weeks, by the way. Tennessee and Los Angeles Rams. There have been different squares every time. Doesn't matter. This week's category, most rushing yards. So be ready for that. And again, I was not available to do much this week, which is why you got no updates whatsoever. 2 weeks from now, it'll be the same thing. Just a busy guy. What can I say? So, all right. Well, there you go. 19 minutes. We're under 20. Oh! It hit 20 minutes as we stop. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later.